Have you ever stopped to think about the absolute medical marvel that lets surgeons perform these incredible life-saving procedures without us feeling a thing? I mean, it's called anesthesia, and it's a cornerstone of modern medicine for sure. But, it's so much more complicated than just going to sleep. It really forces us to tackle this huge biological question. And that question is a big one. How is it even possible to temporarily, and most importantly, safely, switch off some of the brain's most basic functions? We're talking about our ability to feel pain, our awareness of the entire world around us, and even our power to make new memories. So in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly how it all works. All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics, what anesthesia even is. Then we'll see how it's totally different from natural sleep. After that, we're going to dive into how it literally intercepts pain signals, manages the body's secret stress reaction, and finally, we'll look at the 4 critical goals every single anesthesiologist has to hit. Okay, so first things first. What are we actually talking about when we say anesthesia? Well, the answer really starts with the word itself. The term comes straight from the Greek word anesthesia, which literally means no senses. And that's really the heart of it. Anesthesia is the artificial, controlled loss of sensation. And this can be for your entire body, or it can be targeted to just one specific part. So anesthesia usually gets split into 2 main buckets. On one hand, you've got general anesthesia. That's where you have a complete loss of consciousness, pain, and reflexes, the whole shebang, affecting your entire body. On the other hand, there's regional anesthesia, which is way more targeted. You're actually conscious, but all sensation is blocked in a specific area, like just your arm or your leg. People always compare anesthesia to being asleep, but that's not really accurate. It's a much, much more profound, medically controlled state. Let's really dig into the key differences here. So let's start with what we all know, regular sleep. It's a totally natural process, right? We lose consciousness, and our reaction to things like a noise or someone touching us is turned way down. But you can still be woken up if the stimulus is strong enough. Anesthetic sleep, though, that's a different beast entirely. It's a medically induced unconsciousness that is way, way deeper. And here's the key. It's designed to block all external stimuli, and that includes the intense stimulus of surgery. You aren't just less reactive, your brain isn't even getting the signals in the first place. So how does anesthesia actually pull this off? How does it stop pain? To get that, we first have to understand how our body sends a pain signal to begin with. You can think of it like a biological alarm system. Okay, so when there's damage to your tissues, your cells release these chemical messengers. These chemicals trigger a signal that just zips along your nerves all the way to your spinal cord. From there, it shoots up a kind of pain highway to a central hub in your brain called the thalamus. The thalamus is like the brain's main sorting office for all incoming sensory mail. It's only when the thalamus forwards that signal to the cortex that you actually feel pain. And what's so cool is that our bodies have their own built-in system for managing pain. Natural chemicals can act like little gates, blocking some of those pain signals from getting through. What anesthesia does is it basically hijacks this system, slamming those gates completely shut and stopping the signal dead in its tracks. Now, here is something truly fascinating. Even when your brain is totally unconscious and not feeling any pain, your body can still recognize that surgery is a major physical stressor, and it can react to it. A huge part of anesthesia's job is to manage this invisible response. So when the body senses this kind of stress, it kicks 2 major systems into high gear. First, you've got the endocrine system, which releases hormones through a pathway you can think of as a command chain from your brain to your adrenal glands. And second, there's the sympathetic nervous system. That's your classic fight or flight response. And the result is this huge chemical cascade. The body just floods itself with stress hormones and dumps fuel like sugar and fats right into the bloodstream. It's basically gearing up for a major battle. So a critical part of anesthesia is keeping this powerful internal reaction under control. It protects the body from its own alarm system and helps ensure you have a much smoother recovery after the surgery is all done. All right, this brings us to the final and really the most critical piece of the puzzle. To be successful, anesthesia isn't just one thing. It's about achieving 4 very distinct but related goals. Here they are, the 4 pillars of a good anesthetic. Number 1, and this is the most obvious one, you have to block all the pain. Second, you have to cause a loss of consciousness.
Third, you've got to remove those involuntary reflex actions so the body doesn't jerk or move in response to the surgery. And finally, number 4, you need to induce muscle relaxation, which is absolutely vital for the surgeon to be able to do their job properly.
An anesthesiologist is basically like a pilot. They are constantly monitoring and adjusting everything to maintain this perfect balance. It's not about just putting someone to sleep. It's about precisely managing these 4 different physiological states all at the same time to keep the patient safe and make sure the surgery is a success.
And that just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Every single day, all across the world, we are safely and reversibly switching human consciousness off and then back on again. So, what does this incredible medical feat really tell us about the nature of consciousness itself? It's a question that takes us from the operating room right to the very edge of philosophy and neuroscience.